It's not often that something arrives in the post and I think, oh my goodness, I must try that now. But these have just arrived and they look so gorgeous that I thought I would quickly open them and do a couple of swatches. I'm meant to be going out urban sketching in less than an hour and I'd really like to take these with me. They come from Viviva Colours and I will totally go through them properly, but I thought, oh, I could take this lovely little sketchbook with me this afternoon and we'll look at those later. But what I want to take with me are these. But they're colour sheets. I've never used colour sheets before. But look at them. Don't they look beautiful? And I thought, oh, urban sketching, absolutely perfect. I've got to swatch them before I take them because some of the colours, well, I just don't know what they're going to be like. I mean, look at, that's peacock blue, but the shine on it, I hope that's been caught, has got sort of a pink. And what was the one I saw that really confused me? This violet, let me put it there. It looks gold, so I've got to try them out before I venture out because I could be sitting in the marketplace in Wokingham, which is where I'm going, with no colours if they turn out to be horrible. I don't think they will. They look brilliant. Right, now for the quickest swatching in the history of swatching. I'm just going to pick up the colours and see what they're like. First thing, I can see that it picks up really easily. Oh, isn't that familiar and gorgeous? I'll do some proper... Oh, sorry. I'm getting excited. Look at the colour of that orange. I'll do some proper research so I can tell you about these. And we'll look at pigments and we'll look at prices and how they work and everything. But they just look so beautiful that I thought it would be a great shame not to use them today. Oh gosh, that's very, very vibrant, aren't they? Oh, that Viridian looks more like turquoise. Isn't that beautiful? Now this was the peacock blue. As I say, if you look at it, it's just got this amazing sheen to it. I don't know. Oh, that's rich. And the violet. Same. Oh, that didn't really come off. Oh, there we go. Magenta. Just slate black at the end, which I will just put down there. Oh, actually, even that black's rather nice. It's definitely got a grey tinge to it rather than a solid black. Well, look at those. How cool are they? I'm going to find a water brush, pen to take, and better get packed up pretty quickly for this urban sketch meetup. Well, that was me being excited the day that these colour sheets arrived. I took them out sketching that day. And I took the little Viviva sketchbook and I was I was totally disappointed with the sketchbook. I believe this might be a faulty batch and I'm waiting for a replacement. So don't take this as I'm not recommending the sketchbook. I just don't know. Because what I found was we got bleed through on the paper. And it wasn't just on one sheet. It was every sheet, so you could only use every other page in the sketchbook, which is pointless. But as I say, I think this may be a faulty batch and I'm hoping that's the case because it's very cute. So I took them out that day and I soon realised they are very, very vivid. This is Wokingham, near where I live. It's not really that colour. On that same day, let's just grab this. This is a little moleskin book. On the same day, I did this little sketch, and again, Wokingham is not this colour, but I really enjoyed the vibrancy and the transparency of the colours. After that day, I have been away on a very long hike, my first long distance hike. We walked the Ridgeway, which is a very ancient chalk path over 3,000 years old across the centre of England, and we must walk 95 miles or 150 kilometres over the week. I was exhausted, and I took this book with me. I've done a full review, and I'll put a link to my tips for hiking and backpacking sketching. But I took these because I thought, oh, they're really light and compact. Wouldn't they be brilliant for hiking? And we did that. So after a week of being used, this is what they look like. And they have suffered, but they stood up really well to being thrown in my rucksack, used on the hoof, and this is the state they're in. They haven't fallen to pieces, and they look good. You've got 16 colours in the basic little booklet, and very sensibly, I really like this, they show you swatches of the colours. You think, oh, I need yellow, I'll go to the yellow page. Each page has a little bit of wax paper in between so that they don't stick together. Now, sensibly, you would want to dry them before you put them away. I was hiking, I was sketching probably for 15 minutes before we really needed to move on because we still had hours and hours of walking. So I couldn't let them dry, but nothing stuck together. So these little wax sheets are brilliant. At the back, you've got this little fold out area, and it is coated with, I'm not sure what, but coated with something so that you can use this as a little palette, and just to prove, it wipes clean. Isn't that good? So you can wipe it clean after mixing. I don't know what the coating is, and this is an ordinary page, and you cannot, well, a bit comes off, but you can't wipe that clean. So that really works. And what you could do is put that out there if you want, and you could be flicking through, and you could use that as your palette there, or you can go back to here, which is what I did, which is why that's so mucky. Really well thought through. Colours are, oh my goodness, they are so vibrant. You saw that on the swatching. They are really concentrated. They do not look like, you know, if you glanced at that, you would not know that was deep pink. So here, I would really recommend swatching what the colour is underneath it to remind you what the colours. So where you've got the name, just put the colour there, because also they're not quite the same as the printed colours. Nothing ever is. So I would swatch those underneath. These are dye-based watercolours, so they're not pigment-based watercolours. And that has pros and cons attached to it. Plus is that they're immensely vibrant, and they're very, very transparent, absolutely beautiful. The downside is their long-term light fastness will just not be as good as watercolours. Using them for sketching and sketchbooks, longevity isn't an issue because your book is shut, they're not going to fade. So they are handmade in India by women. So I believe it offers really positive employment opportunities. It cuts down on plastic and metal waste because that's all paper. And I believe the whole thing can just be recycled at the end. We do different books. This is their basic core colours. I think they do a spring colour range and a metallic colour range. In the UK, the recommended cost is £20. However, when I was just looking ahead of this, I found them for £11.96 on sale, so do look around. In the US, they are $22. They have local shipping in the US, Canada and the UK, and express shipping direct from India to all other countries, and all the shipping costs, if you're in Iceland or Holland, you know, all the shipping costs are spelt out. I don't think they're expensive because, of course, they're terribly light. If you sign up for their newsletter, they'll send you a 10% off voucher. UK, they are sold through a number of the art stores like Ken Bromley, the London Graphic Centre and so forth, or you can buy direct. You saw when I was swatching how I would use them, and for me their big strength is to use them out and about while you're either travelling or urban sketching, and just to use a little water brush and to pick up colour. And you can just see that beautiful colour. I mean, it's just lovely, and how it can fade down. And even with lots of water, you know, there's still, oh, it's a joy. And if you can use it wet in wet, and it travels beautifully. They're so transparent. They're just absolutely delightful. So, I mean, that would be certainly the way I would use them. Of course, you could use them at home just with an ordinary brush and water. You know, that is your choice. And again, you see, you get lovely wet in wet, and you could use them dry brush and all the sorts of things you want. If you wanted to layer, oops, let's put a layer, we'll dry that and come back and see how they layer. But just take my word for it that they do layer very beautifully. What I've noticed is that they re-wet really easily on the paper, which I love. And you do get a lot of water blooms with that. It's so fine, it's really easy to get watermarks. Now, I love water blooms and all those marks. If you don't like them, you will find that quite annoying. You don't get any granulation because these are dye-based. Let's be honest, there is nothing subtle about these colours. They're gorgeous, but there is nothing subtle about them. So you need to choose very carefully what you use them for. I took them on my hike, and I was going to be sketching English countryside. They're just not the right colours for the English countryside. Boy, did I struggle. So, you know, we've got this lovely sap green, actually, which is not bad. But then say we've got that light green, which is lurid. So you'd think, oh, how can I calm that down? I'll add a touch of, oh, I don't know, say burnt sienna. And of course you can calm it down. See, that just knocks it down a bit, and you can start to get somewhere, you know, a little less scary. But because they are so concentrated and you're working outside, that to actually get down to some subtlety, you know, you might want a wash like that, you've got to add so much water, and that can be really tricky if you're using water brush. If I was traveling somewhere tropical, oh, these would just be so lovely. We were at the Grand Palace in Bangkok, and the colours I had just did not do justice to the assault on the senses that the Grand Palace is. These would be amazing. If you're painting mist and fog, these are not going to work for you as well. You're going to have to work a lot harder, actually fight your materials to try and get some subtlety going there. It did get easier with experience. This last one, I managed to mix down a few more colours. I mean, it's certainly not subtle, but it is probably better than that first one, where I was like, whoa, those colours. So there is a learning curve with them. A little really does go a long way. So I think these would last quite some time. Some of the colours I've already used quite a bit of, and some I've hardly touched. So I guess that's a downside, because once I've run out of, I don't know, which one have I used a lot of? One of these yellows. Oh no, that's burnt sienna, or the chrome yellow I've used quite a bit of. Once they're gone, they're gone. You know, you can't replenish them. They do stain incredibly. Let's just come back, say, to this orange. See, They can reactivate for blending, but you will never, ever, 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 ever get back to the white of the paper. You know, if you wanted to lift, can you see it's certainly reactivated even on the paper surface, but they're incredibly staining, and that might be an issue for you. It might not. So the transparency is just stunning. Look at that. You can layer and get absolutely beautiful colour mixing through layering just because they are dye based and absolutely beautiful. The other downside for me is that they are really messy. Now that could just be me as a painter, but when I was sitting outside sketching and tending to hold them like this and flicking backwards and forwards, and then I'd look at my hand and it was just covered. Now, I have no issue about being covered in paint. In fact, it makes me terribly happy. So, you know, if that's a problem for you, well, I guess you just put them down rather than holding them in your hand. But if you're outside sketching, you need to keep hold of them and just flick backwards and forwards. So they are messy. The website actually says they're really clean to use. And I'm like, not for me, they're not. No, 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 no. When you finish with them, what I would suggest, if you can, again, I couldn't because I was walking and hiking, is probably leave them just like that so they're splayed out and all the pages can actually dry out before being stored, and then you can just close them up. My conclusion is that they're just wonderful. I really love them. They are not for subtle ethereal watercolours. That's not what they're designed to do, and you'd really be fighting them to do that. But for vivid, fun, explosive, colourful work, either on the move or at home, they're fantastic. Such a lot of fun, beautifully thought through, really lovely to work with. And if you get the opportunity, I would absolutely grab yourself a little colour sheet and enjoy.